I'm Martine Miitri, and this is spontaneous reporting in the United States presented by myself, Elina Sadek, Teresa Habbouche, Nehme, and Michel Samara. So, what is spontaneous reporting? All unsolicited reports from healthcare professionals or consumers received by the FDA via either the voluntary or mandatory route are called spontaneous report. A spontaneous report is a clinical observation that originates outside of a formal study. The individual spontaneous report of adverse drug reaction are sent directly to MedWatch programs or to the manufacturer and then indirectly from manufacturer to the FDA. Then they are combined with data from clinical studies and medical literature. They all comprise the primary data source upon which post-marketing surveillance depends. Moreover, the FDA also continued to explore the use of new active surveillance methodologies for reporting adverse drug reaction. The FDA also explores drug safety questioning in large population based on claims that link prescription to adverse outcome. When the FDA approves a pharmaceutical product for prescribing and dispensing by healthcare providers in the United States, the agency has conducted a rigorous science based multidisciplinary review of controlled clinical trial sponsored and conducted by a pharmaceutical company. Moreover, the FDA has determined that the product's benefits outweigh any known or anticipated risk for the general population when the product is used as indicated in the approved prescribing information. However, the limitation inherent in the controlled clinical trial setting in the identification of rare but clinically important adverse events inevitably ensure that the uncertainties will remain about the safety of these pharmaceuticals once it is marketed and used in wider population over longer periods of time in patients with comorbidities and concomitant medication and for off-label use not previously evaluated. So, how can a patient be harmed from pharmaceutical use? Asked the man with the suit. The pharmacist answers, most injuries and deaths associated with the use of result, result from their known side effect, some unavoidable but others able to be prevented or minimized by careful product choice and use. It is estimated that more than half of the side effects of pharmaceuticals are avoidable. Other sources of preventable adverse events are medication error, which may occur when the product is administered incorrectly or when the wrong dose is administered. Injury from product quality problem is of interest to the FDA, which has regulatory responsibility for oversight of the product quality control and quality assurance during the manufacturing and distribution process. The final category of potential risk, those risks are most amendable to identification by an effective voluntary reporting system, involves the remaining uncertainties about the product. These uncertainties include unexpected and rare adverse events, long-term effect, unstudied use and unstudied population, unanticipated medication errors due to name confusion or packaging format, and product quality defects due to manufacturing process.
Hello, my name is Teresa Habbouche and I'm going to talk about regulatory reporting requirements. In the US, adverse event reporting by individual healthcare providers and consumers is voluntary, but manufacturers and distributors of FDA-approved drugs and biologic products have mandatory reporting requirements governed by regulation. Historically, only non-biologic pharmaceutical products, prescriptions and some OTC with approved new drug application were subject to mandatory reporting requirements. In 1994, this requirement was expanded to include biologic products. In the US, most health professionals and consumers report adverse events to the manufacturer rather than directly to the FDA. However, in many other countries, consumers and health professionals report directly to a governmental public health agency. Current requirements The main objective of the FDA post-marketing reporting requirement is to provide early detection of a potentially serious, previously unknown safety problems with marketed drugs, especially with newly marketed drugs. Now, I'm going to explain some definitions. Adverse experience is a harmful event associated with the use of a product in humans, not necessarily related to the product. It might be occurring during the use of product in professional practice, from overdose of the product, whether accidental or intentional, from abuse of the product, from withdrawal of the product, or from any failure of expected pharmacologic action. An unexpected adverse experience is a harmful event that is not listed in the current labeling for the product. Events may be symptomatically and pathophysiologically related to an event listed in the labeling, but differ from the event because of greater severity or specificity. A serious adverse experience occurs at any dose that results in death, a life-threatening adverse event, inpatient hospitalization, prolongation of existing hospitalization, a persistent or significant disability or incapacity, a congenital anomaly or birth defect. A good example of a serious adverse experience is an allergic bronchospasm requiring intensive treatment in an emergency room or at home. Another example is the development of drug dependency or drug abuse. By regulation, companies are required to report to the FDA all adverse events of which they become aware and to provide as complete information as possible. Those reports rely primarily on information provided by health professionals through both voluntary reporting and the scientific literature. For OTC drugs, reports are only required for products marketed under an approved NDA, including prescription drugs that undergo a switch to OTC status. Both prescription and OTC drugs require FDA safety and efficacy review prior to marketing. If we look at the MedWatch Adverse Event Reporting Program, it is divided in 5 sections: patient information, adverse event or product problem, suspect medication, suspect medical device, and the reporter. In the section Patient Information, we need to fill the information about the patient, the age at the time of the event, the gender, and the weight of the patient. Adverse event or product problem, we have to specify whether it's an adverse event or a product problem, like malfunctioning or a defect. Outcomes attributed to this adverse event: death, life-threatening condition, hospitalization, disability, congenital anomaly, or requiring intervention that prevent permanent impairment or damage. We need to check all that apply. It may be one or more. Date of the event and the date of this report. And we have to describe briefly the problem in the comment section. After, if it's a suspected medical device, we have to fill the section suspected medical device. If it's a suspected medication, we have to fill the section suspected medication. In the suspected medication section, we should put the name of the drug, the dose frequency and route, the indication of this drug, the diagnosis that the physician initially made to prescribe the drug, the therapy dates, the lot number, the expiration date of the product, and the rest. For the suspected medical device, we have to fill the brand name, the type of the device, the manufacturer, the model number, catalog number, serial number, lot number, expiration date, and the rest also. And at the end, we have to sign the name, the patient or healthcare provider or any other person who is filling this reporting form have to fill his name and sign. Patients, healthcare provider, manufacturers, or whoever experienced the adverse event have to fill the report even if they are not certain that the product caused the event or if they don't know all the details. Now let's talk about current requirements of dietary supplements: vitamins, minerals, amino acid, and botanicals. All they do not require FDA safety and efficacy review prior to marketing. The manufacturers of dietary supplements do not have to prove safety or efficacy, but the FDA must demonstrate that a product is safe and cause no potential serious risk to the public health. Also, they do not have to report adverse event to the FDA. Now let's talk about current requirements of dietary supplements: vitamins, minerals, amino acid, and botanicals. All they do not require FDA safety and efficacy review prior to marketing. The manufacturers of dietary supplements do not have to prove safety or efficacy, but the FDA must demonstrate that a product is safe and cause no potential serious risk to the public health. Also, they do not have to report adverse event to the FDA. So, voluntary reporting of serious adverse events associated with dietary supplements is particularly important. The FDA's Center for Food Safety and Nutrition launched its adverse event reporting system in the summer of 2003 to promote reporting and tracking of adverse events associated with dietary supplements. As a conclusion, electronic reporting is an important step because reports are available for review more quickly. It also reduces data entry costs. Thus, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research can use its resources for additional pharmacovigilance efforts. Twice yearly, the FDA hosts a meeting with representatives from major pharmaceutical firms in order to discuss electronic adverse event reporting, including ways to encourage electronic reporting.
AERS, the Adverse Event Reporting System, is a reporting system that is client-friendly. They kept in mind that their reporting system needs to be easy for the user. They should enhance search capabilities. They improve the operational efficiency and effectiveness. They improve the accessibility of adverse event information. They kept the ICH standards discussed previously. And they built the capability to receive electronic submissions and provide automated signal generation capabilities. Pharmaceutical manufacturers can submit their AE reports paper to the FDA Central Document Room. Individuals, on the other hand, can mail them or send them by fax or can phone them into the MedWatch. Then these reports are classified into the AERS. Copies of all these reports can be accessible to anyone through the FDA Freedom of Information Office, with all confidential information redacted. On a daily basis, the FDA receives a lot of reports of adverse events, which are then directed to safety evaluators. Safety evaluators are actually clinical pharmacists who are assigned specific groups or classes of drugs or therapeutic biologic products based on their past experience in this field, and they work under the tutelage of team leaders who have even more experience in the evaluation and assessment of adverse event reports. Whenever there is a very important adverse effect that is actually serious, it is sent by email into the computer inbox of the safety evaluators. In addition to that, there are a lot of epidemiologists that work in the FDA to help in the signal development, identification of risk factors and confounders that can be exaggerating in the side effects. Also, they critique published and unpublished epidemiologic studies and participate in the design and development of protocols for epidemiologic studies. Every case report needs to include some information about the drug. First of all, we need to include the drug name. We should include a concise description of the adverse event, the date of the onset of the side effects, when the drug was started or it was stopped, if they did a de-challenge and a re-challenge of the drug and what happened when they did that, the dose and frequency of administration of the drug, any lab values or biopsy, autopsy reports, patient demographics, and any information about confounding drugs or conditions that the patient has. If the report was not clear or was poorly documented, the safety evaluator working on the case can reach out to the reporter or the manufacturer for follow-up information. After the confirmation of a signal, the FDA initiates its regulatory actions. These include labeling change, such as a boxed warning, restricted use or distribution of the drug, name or packaging changes, a Dear Healthcare Professional letter, and, in real cases, possible withdrawal of a medical product from the market. The period of time between the identification of a signal and applying the regulatory action may take several months to years.
Hello, my name is Michel Samara and I'll be talking about the recent changes, the proposed modifications, and the MedWatch program. First, concerning the recent changes, based on the initiatives of the International Conference on Harmonization of Technical Requirements, the FDA has undertaken a major effort in implementation of the electronic reporting of individual case safety reports and clarification and revising regulations regarding pre- and post-marketing safety reporting requirements for human drug and biologic products. In 1997, the FDA published a final rule in the Federal Register amending its requirements. The agency published in 1998 an interim guidance for the industry called Post-Marketing Adverse Experience Reporting for Human Drugs and Licensed Biologic Products, clarification on what to report, and this was done in order to help pharmaceutical manufacturers understand the new requirements. Also, for the same reason, in 2003, the FDA issued a guidance for the industry which describes how pharmaceutical companies may submit descriptive information using physical media. Proposed modifications. A serious adverse drug reaction reporting proposed rule is expected to be published in the near future. This rule focuses on report quality, standardizes terminology to adverse drug reaction, and encourages active query by the healthcare professional at the company who speaks directly with the reporter of the serious adverse drug reaction. The FDA plans to publish an OTC ADR reporting proposed rule for OTC products without an NDA since they are not subject to reporting. This rule aims at bringing these products into the post-marketing safety net. In 2003, the agency published a proposed rule titled Safety Reporting Requirements for Human Drug and Biologic Products. This rule requires companies to file expedited reports of suspected ADRs unless the company is certain the drug did not cause the reaction. The MedWatch program. MedWatch, the FDA Safety Information and Adverse Event Reporting Program, was established in 1993. It was designed to promote and facilitate the voluntary reporting process by both healthcare providers and their patients, given the vital importance of post-marketing surveillance. The program has 4 goals. The first goal is to increase awareness of drug, device, and other medical product-induced disease and on the importance of reporting. This goal is accomplished through educational outreach, which includes professional presentations, publications, and a continuing education program. The second goal is to clarify what should be reported. Causality is not a prerequisite for reporting. Suspicion that a medical product may be related to a serious event is a sufficient reason to notify the FDA and/or the manufacturer. The third goal is to make it convenient and simple to submit a report of a serious adverse event, medication error, or product quality problem directly to the FDA. A single-page form is used for reporting suspected problems with all human-use medical products, drugs, biologics, medical devices, and special nutritionals. And the last and final goal is to provide timely and clinically useful safety information on all FDA-regulated medical products to healthcare professionals and their patients. FDA's interest in informing health professionals about new safety findings is not only to enable them to incorporate new safety information into daily practice, but also to demonstrate that voluntary reporting has a definite clinical impact.
The first strong point I want to talk about is the large scale and cost-effective. Surveillance system based on spontaneous reports potentially maintain ongoing surveillance of almost all patients involving a large scale, and the reports were inexpensive and these are cost-effective. The second point I want to talk about is generation of hypotheses and signals. The great utility of spontaneous reports lies in hypothesis generation. On top of this, the importance of spontaneous-based surveillance program is to generate signals of potential problems that guarantee further investigation. Assessing an adverse event in question typically require a strong hypothesis generation. The author tackles some factors assessing causal relationship between drug and reported adverse events, like chronology of administration of agent, including beginning and ending of treatment and adverse event onset, previously known toxicity of agent, laboratory test result, and many other examples. The stronger the drug-event relationship in each case and the lower the incidence of the adverse event occurring spontaneously, the fewer case reports are needed to perceive causality. However, achieving certain proof of causality through adverse event reporting is unusual. Confirmation of an association between a drug and an adverse event usually requires further additional studies. The last point I want to talk about among strengths are the opportunity for clinician contribution. It was found that direct practitioner participation in the FDA spontaneous reporting system was the most effective source of new ADR reports that led to changes in labeling. At the end, post-marketing surveillance based on spontaneous reports data is a powerful tool for detecting adverse event signals of direct clinical impact. Recognition. While an attribution of association between the medical product and the observed event is assumed by the reporters with all spontaneously reported events, every effort is made to rule out other explanations for the other event in question. It is well known also that placebos and even no treatment can be associated with adverse events. In addition, there is almost always an underlying background rate for any clinical event in the population, regardless of whether there was an exposure or not to a medical product. Reaching a firm conclusion about the relationship between exposure to a medical product and the occurrence of an adverse event can be difficult. Ultimately, formal pharmacoepidemiological studies are usually needed to strengthen the observed association. The second point I will talk about is underreporting. Another major concern with any spontaneous reporting system is underreporting of adverse events. The extent of underreporting is unknown and may be influenced by the severity of the event, the specialty of the reporter, how long the drug has been on the market, whether the event is labeled, and whether the drug is a prescription or non-prescription. It has been estimated that rarely more than 10% of serious adverse drug reactions and 2 to 4% of non-serious reactions are reported to the British spontaneous reporting system. The impact of underreporting can be somewhat lessened if submitted reports are of high quality, not of high quantity. Talking about quality, a complete adverse event report should include the following, we mean by complete a high quality report. It should include the following: product name and information such as model and serial numbers in the case of medical devices, demographic data, clinical description of the adverse event, including confirmatory relevant test laboratory results, confounding factors such as concomitant medical products and medical history, temporal information, including the date of event onset and start-stop dates for the use of medical product, dose, frequency of use, biopsy autopsy results, outcome. The major limitations of the FDA's adverse event reporting system reflect the fact that the data are generated in an uncontrolled and incomplete manner. The majority of adverse events originate with practicing physicians who may or may not notify the manufacturer or the FDA when they observe an adverse event in one of their patients. It appears that they generally do not choose to report adverse effect, and the number of reports that the FDA receives is not representative of the extent of adverse events that occur in the US. The number of reports in the system is also influenced by a variety of other factors, such as the extent and quality of the individual manufacturer's post-marketing surveillance activities, the nature of the event. After talking about past and present reporting, we will talk now about the future and what's coming up. The systematic collection and evaluation of post-marketing reports of serious adverse drug reactions by the FDA has come a long way since its inception about 50 years ago. Since the 1999 report, the FDA has continued to work with the academia and industry to address these recommendations. In recognition of the increased importance of post-marketing surveillance and risk assessment in the regulatory setting, a variety of initiatives are underway within the FDA. In 2002, the ODS was created within the CDER with its three divisions focusing on improved identification and epidemiologic evaluation of adverse drug reactions, the evaluation of medication errors, and further research and implementation of risk communication activities directed toward both healthcare professionals and patients. The recent reauthorization of the Prescription Drug Users Fee Act, PDUFA, in 2002 will for the first time allow the FDA to apply user fee funds to the post-marketing activities of the agency. In anticipation of these expanded efforts, the FDA has published several guidance documents on post-marketing risk evaluation, risk communication, and risk management. The FDA's current and future efforts include the following. 1. Increasing the quality of incoming reports of adverse event with a focus on making the adverse effect reports more efficient. 2. Establishing global report standards, promoting speed of reporting and assessment through electronic reporting, exploring new assessment and data visualizing methodologies, and finally, exploring tools beyond spontaneous reporting. The FDA will continue to consider appropriate risk communication tools in order to clearly articulate drug safety information to both health professionals and patients in a timely manner. The plan for the upcoming years is to develop and establish best practices for risk management plans and to develop quantitative approaches to the review of post-marketing safety data. To sum it up, spontaneous reporting of adverse effect provides an important cornerstone for pharmacovigilance in the US. Regulators and manufacturers of medical products worldwide are moving forward to the single safety message transmission with the global harmonization for data standards and data transmission, improvements in relational database systems, the development of new risk assessment methodologies, and increased access to other data resources, including computerized medical records, to improve our overall ability to manage risk from pharmaceuticals. And thank you.